afternoon, everyone, and welcome to IVMF's VetNet webinars. My name is Ashley Cavender, and we are very excited to partner with Johnson & Johnson today on this webinar. A few housekeeping tips before I kick it over to start the session today. This will be recorded. If you do have any questions for our panelists during this session, please type them into the chat box. And then at the end of the presentation, we will get to as many questions as we can. Also, after the session, we will be sending out a recording to all of those that have registered for the webinar, as well as a post-webinar survey, just to let us know, if there's any other questions you have, what other content, you would find valuable to yourself. So please keep us informed and let us know how we can continue to help you. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Ken Mays, to kick us off.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the very first IVMF VetNet for 2022. My name is Ken Mays, and I'm the Employee Relations Navigator for the On With the Opportunity program, and it is my pleasure to be your moderator for today's event. Today, we are fortunate to have some of our partners from Johnson & Johnson as our guests to discuss the magnificent portfolios and programs available through their military community, to our military communities. And it is my pleasure to introduce the Military and Veterans Affairs Leader at Johnson & Johnson, Ms. Tiffany Daugherty, and her team to lead us through this discussion. So at this time, please join me in welcoming Tiffany Daugherty from Johnson & Johnson. Welcome, Tiffany.
Kenneth, thanks so much for having us. I have to say that I am such a proud long-term supporter and partner of the IVMF. I'm an O2O graduate myself. I got my PHR through the Onward to Opportunity program, and we're really proud to be a formal partner and a long-standing partner. What we're going to do today, though, is share a lot of information about Johnson & Johnson. So please do plug those questions in as we go, because we can't wait to answer those for you. But we want to give you some general context. It's not just me here today, though. So let me run you through. Can someone give me a thumbs up if you see my screen? We're good. Okay, perfect. Lots of thumbs up. I like it. A very attentive group here. I want to run you through who's going to be joining us from Johnson & Johnson today and what we're going to be sharing with you to give you the lay of the land. Over about the next 45 minutes, we're going to share information with you about our company as a whole. Some of it you're probably aware of, and some may be new for you. Our military connected community. And then most importantly, we want you to hear the stories of some of our colleagues that are veterans that work for us, for Johnson & Johnson, to give you their perspective on their transition and their experience in various parts of our organization and from various military careers. Then I'm going to come back to you and we're going to talk about specific opportunities at Johnson & Johnson. So who is with us today? There are 4 of us today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then you're going to hear from the other 3, from Tammy Lockhart, who's our site lead and a site lead for multiple sites in Global Health Services. We've got Deborah Montagudo, who is a district manager in infectious diseases and vaccines in the Pacific Northwest, a pretty broad region. She'll tell you a little bit about that. And Sean Hardy, who's in manufacturing and a manufacturing manager and has had a long career at Johnson & Johnson. Excited for you to hear from each of them. Just a little bit about me. I am an Army vet myself. I was enlisted at 17 out of high school. I also come from a military family. I was raised on Navy bases, so a little bit of a half-breed. I went to the Army-Navy game this year, and that was tough. I don't really fully know who to root for, but the Army is my alma mater. And I was also an Army Special Operations spouse. So I have a 15, almost 16-year-old, and we definitely picked her name over email back and forth to Iraq. So have lived a few sides of military life. Really proud to be here with you today and to have worked in supporting veterans exclusively for most of the last decade, now in this role where I am part of helping to drive the strategy with this big team at Johnson & Johnson to make sure that we are bringing in great military talent, veterans, military spouses, members of the Guard and Reserve. But all right, why are you here? First off, here's our hope. Here's what we're looking for. That you're here if you are smart, curious, and relentless. That is what we have defined as what we look for in people that are a great fit for Johnson & Johnson. So if that sounds like you, you're in the right place. Stick with us for this hour. All right, we're going to kick it over to hear a little bit about Johnson & Johnson. And for this section, Sean, do you want to take the driver's seat and tell us about Johnson & Johnson?
All right. So thanks you, Tiffany, and thank you for your service. I'm going to try to do a quick overview of Johnson & Johnson, kind of what the state we are today, just so a lot of people out there, maybe like Tiffany explained earlier, may not know all of the big scope of what Johnson & Johnson is. They just know it from our brand names. A lot of times people hear Johnson & Johnson, they attach it to something, Band-Aids, Tylenol, or some type of medication that they might be using from Johnson & Johnson. So let's move forward. Next slide. Right, thanks. Pretty much, innovation. This slide kind of talks about how we move forward as a company in that realm, in the space of innovation. But along that path, in the last couple of years, we consistently have had good awards and recognition when it comes down to some of the best in the places of work for innovation, and also for how people admire us as a Fortune 500 company. Pretty much we had the #1 in the most admired company in the pharmaceutical category, and also Glassdoor says we were the best places to work, and we consistently, different organizations rank us as one of the best places to work of all the companies out there. So and from a family standpoint and supporting families, working mothers say, hey, we're one of the best companies out there supporting working mothers. So this is just a snapshot of just some of the awards that we have had over the past couple of years, and they continue to come in, and they're consistent in that, hey, we look after our people, we care about the people based upon our credo, and that's one of the things that really helps us drive our daily interactions with our customers and the people that work at the company. Always looking for brilliant minds. We're looking for people to help engage and to advance, the innovation that I talked about. So, a lot of the great brilliant minds are on here. People that have military experience, they bring a lot to the table for us and make this company better and stronger. Next slide. This is just kind of the timeline on the history of and some of the major accomplishments that that we've had throughout the years. When it was founded, founded back in 1886, and some of the major contributions, how it, Johnson & Johnson vaccinated its employees against smallpox back in 1901. The famous mask to help prevent the flu spread back in 1992. And then as along the way is with the protease inhibitors for HIV, back in one of the things that anybody has any type of business ethics class, they always look at that 1982, pretty much what would happen there with the Tylenol, pulling all the Tylenol and the CEO's decision to do that, and the impact it had on the reputation of the company and the industry in itself. It was an industry changing event that was led by Johnson & Johnson. Some of the latest things is, for the associates that work here, we extended our global maternity and paternity leave policies for, people, and we made an adjustment this past year to extend that too as well. But they get a minimum of 8 weeks of leave to actually bond with their new babies, whether they be, adopted or whether they are their birth. So that's just some of the snapshots of some of the things that that we have accomplished along the history of the company. I'll talk, pretty much about our credo. Our credo is, pretty much it's one of the oldest and one of the strongest that has really not really changed very little, but it has a very, very strong impact on, how we do business day to day and the decisions that we make and how we treat our people and supporting the patients and the doctors in our communities. And it drives the decision-making process. Like I said in the other slide, with the Tylenol back in 1982 situation, that was led by our credo, and decisions like that are made pretty regularly, daily at Johnson & Johnson, all based upon our credo. So that is something that really drives us to do better and to achieve the goals of the company, but also to serve, and most importantly, to serve our customers. As far as being a global community, we're worldwide. It's over 134K employees across 60 countries, with over 260 companies, operating companies, and that number grows consistently as we go, and then we add companies to the portfolio.
Thanks so much, Sean, for that really high-level overview. And so, massive company, 260 actual companies within the portfolio. And I'm going to talk a little bit about breaking that down, but I also want to backtrack a little to talk a little bit more about that credo, which one is it? It's both, and give a little more context to that, because it's so ingrained in our day-to-day life, but I want to make sure that we're really clear with you about what it means. First off, we call it our promise set in stone. That was actually by General Johnson, the second generation of the family to lead this organization. First put that credo in stone, and as Sean mentioned, it's changed very little. I think we changed it from mothers to mothers and fathers, as our society adapted, but very little over time. Written in stone in 1943. So place yourself in the context of what was happening in the world and in industry in 1943, not 2021. And how companies treated employees, how companies saw their responsibility to the community was a very different world that we were living in. But Johnson & Johnson, right at that time, put into place this credo, which really sets up our decision making. I feel like we're keeping the mystery alive here. But it says that in this order, it's an and proposition, it's all of these things. But in this order, here's who matters in our decision making. First off, it's our patients, our customers, the people our products touch, and their families, their mothers and fathers. That's where that comes in. If you think of us affecting health at all stages of life, starting with babies being born was a big part of the early stages of our business. So we said our babies and their mothers and their fathers. Second to that is our employees. So in 1943, we said the second most important thing in all of our decision making is our employees. And that culture really still stands today. I know that my impression of Johnson & Johnson has very much been from day one, family first. How taking care of ourselves matters. And again, that's really spelled out in that credo. Third, the communities in which we operate and the impact that we have in those communities. And you see that from the very early years of the organization, the volunteering that was taking place, the way in which we hired, we were hiring women into leadership roles. And at the very, very beginning of the organization, the first scientists that we hired, the first, a good bulk of our first employees, we knew that it was important to be a good corporate citizen before the term corporate citizen was really out there. And that's because of our employees. And then fourth is our shareholders. So yes, profits matter. And we've been a very profitable company, even through the pandemic, even through all of the changes that have gone on. That is important to us, but never at the cost of all of those stakeholders. So important for you to share that with you. Moving on though, I want to tell you tactically, what do we do, right? We are three core business functions within our Johnson & Johnson. So we are the pharmaceutical business. So yes, medications. This is really medications that you get at your doctor's office. Some of the things that Sean touched on. Med tech, which is also our term for medical device, which we'll get into a little bit about each of these. And then consumer health products. So consumer health products, those are the things all over your house. I would be willing to bet that most, if not all of you, have at least one of the products in your house. It's this list. It's also those OXG products that I know that my daughter loves to wash her hair with, to Aveeno, to many other consumer health products. That's one entity of our business, and everything end to end from the research to the distribution of those products. But next is pharmaceutical, and this is really, core in the heart of our business is all of the innovative pharmaceutical products that we are continuing to innovate, create, and get all the way out to market, and educate the medical field on as well. And then medical devices. Medical devices is a broad term. So some of those things that might come to mind initially, those, artificial knees and hips. But going beyond that is endo cutters, robotical surgical equipment, and then even here where I work in Jacksonville, Florida, we make AccuView contact lenses, which are a medical device. Our business has been incredibly resilient even throughout the COVID pandemic impact. And you'll see that through the diversity of our business, that model really allows us to be the world's not only largest, but most broadly based healthcare company. And it's allowed us to continue to thrive and grow during this changing market. So you will see that in 2020, we continued to increase and our free cash flow was 20.2 billion. So that gives you a strength and a resilience and a confidence to join a company that's continuing to grow. All right, we talked a bit about each of these, but the pharmaceutical business, you'll see at the bottom of your screen that we focus on several different areas in pharmaceutical: immunology, cardiovascular and metabolic disease, pulmonary hypertension, infectious diseases and vaccines, neuroscience and oncology. So probably much broader than you might have heard of or thought about, but as you again think, we are here to improve health at all stages of life. And yeah, as we think about how we approach our pharmaceutical business, it is imagine a future where disease is a thing of the past. And that's one of the things we anchor on. The med tech business, we mentioned the diversity of that. And again, we've got some different business areas: general surgery, orthopedics, cardiovascular disease, infection prevention, ear, nose, and throat, neurovascular, breast aesthetics, and vision. Such a critical part of our health. And as we mentioned, the consumer products, consumer health. All right, so that is the high level, what do we do? Now we want to switch gears and start talking about what do we do in the veteran community? What does that look like for us? So for that, I'm going to hand it over to Debbie.
Thank you, I appreciate it. This is probably my favorite slide in the whole deck, besides pharmaceuticals, because that's what OPCO I'm in. But Johnson & Johnson's long and proud history of supporting military service members really dates back to the Spanish-American War, if you can believe that, in 1898, when the company actually held positions for employees and paid their salaries while they served. I mean, when I first read that, I was just so surprised, and we do that today as well, thankfully, but I couldn't believe we did that, over 100 years ago. And in the Spanish War, that J&J actually developed groundbreaking dressing packets for the unique needs of soldiers. In World War I, J&J ran around the clock to produce sterile dressing. So just a little bit of history there for you with our military connected community. And J&J really values the unique skills and competencies and experiences the military connected community brings to the workplace. And they partner continuously with leading organizations such as this one to enable this community to join us. We were given several awards this year, really proud of the Best for Vets and for Employees, Military Friendly 2021. We partner with ESGR, which you guys might be familiar with in your community, your veteran communities. And we also were top for veterans in 2021 from Diversity. We do give opportunities to connect, engage, and give back. So we encourage our veterans in J&J to join organizations such as supporting the USO, the Travis Manion Foundation, which if you don't know about that, I would encourage you to just Google it and read about it. It's fabulous. And also ACP, which is our America's Corporate Partners, which I am actually a mentor at ACP. And this is where they kind of marry you up. It's sort of like a Match.com survey at first, which is kind of funny, but they really do a terrific job of matching us as a civilian employer with a transitioning veteran so that we can help some people like you get your resumes out there, help with interviewing tips, and get you with the right company. And also, of course, we have a longstanding relationship with the Wounded Warrior Project. Next slide. I think this is me. Do I get to talk about myself? All right, this is a little bit busy, but I'm probably lacking in the design of PowerPoint. Again, my name is Debbie Montagudo, and this is kind of my parallel careers of how I went from the military to active duty to reserves, and then did a dual civilian with reserves in pharma, and then retired, and now I'm here at J&J. So I went through ROTC, served in the Air Force. So if there's anyone out there, Fly Fight Win, who's in the Air Force right now, and did 5 years active duty. And then when I went to the reserves, I didn't think I would finish off 20 years in the reserves. But after about 12 years of doing drills, I thought maybe I should just finish this out. And at the same time, I started a career with Merck. I went to GSK, and then I'm here at Johnson & Johnson. I did retire a lieutenant colonel, which I'm very excited about. It seems like ages ago now. And one funny thing about me is I've never been without an ID card. So those of you in the military are going to appreciate that. I like Tiffany, myself was a military brat. So I was born with an ID card, went into the military myself, and now I carry a blue one, which I try not to show everybody since it might show my age. I am the district manager for infectious disease and vaccines here in the Pacific Northwest. And Tiffany kind of alluded to that is vague, but it's 9 states. I start in Hawaii, go all the way down to El Paso, Texas, minus Southern California. So I have a big territory. I have about a team of 8, and I am extremely passionate about bringing veterans on board to J&J. I actually am the chair for the Veterans Leadership Council here at North America Farm, and I have been developing the Veterans Sales Associate Pathway Program with Tiffany's team. And I will do some of the onboarding and just kind of helping and matching, mentoring mentors up with new people that are transitioning. So one thing message I want to get out to you guys is your skills are translatable and they are valued over here at J&J. Thanks, Tiffany.
Thanks so much, Debbie. Really great to have those parallels too of being the military kid, but also understanding how this is really translated to companies. So thanks for sharing that. And Sean, we'll bring it back to you to tell us more about your story.
All right. Thanks everybody just for holding on and getting through. I'm impressed by Deborah's resume and her transition time. But it's somewhat a different path, you can say. I come from the United States Navy. I was deployed during the Gulf War. I came from the nuclear Navy side, in that I was in the nuclear field. I went to nuclear power school and nuclear field A schools, and so I was enlisted too. And I was an electrician by trade in the Navy, by rate. And I spent the last assignment that I had, my last billet was working on submarines, nuclear powered submarines. So I spent a lot of time working in engine rooms and reactor spaces, and that really prepared me for my transition to the civilian side. I was in the military for 10 years, and I figured when it's time for me to move on, I said, hey, let's make that transition. And it just so happened I was blessed with the day that I got out. I also was hired here at Johnson & Johnson over 20 years ago. So those skills that I picked up, though, were invaluable in the military. And, when I was going through it at the time and having those different experiences, leading work groups, doing physical maintenance and work, all the different training that I had, I never knew that I would tap back into a lot of that once I made that transition. The technical skills that I picked up in the military were definitely very transferable, but also the leadership skills that I picked up as well, those were transferable too, and they would help me later on in my career here at Johnson & Johnson, whereas my technical skills helped me, pretty much when I first started out. So just, going through that, I came in through a hiring company, Ryan, I think his name was, at the time, and they recruited me, and it was a good match. When I first got here, I didn't have a lot of the skills that, I thought at the time that they were asking for, a lot of the technical skills that I just didn't translate yet on my resume, or as far as me knowing that I had those skills. So it took, using, other people to kind of help me say, okay, you got this skill, this is what this means. You got this skill, this is what this means. So that helped quite a bit, and say, hey, I really, I already got the skills I need to be successful. And then I didn't even know it. That a lot of the industry jobs that were out there in the civilian sector that I was qualified for coming out of the military, straight out of the military. So that was a big deal when I figured out that, hey, I was employable, I was marketable, and a lot of things that, I didn't know that I have skills that I know that I did have, and they helped out in the technical aspect. And then as I, started transitioning in my career, as I say, I started out with pretty much, as a technician, and pretty much started, making different steps to improve my standing, my career. One of the things was I went and finished my degree, and that was through Excelsior College, which a lot of you probably know about. But for the company that I've been with pretty much since I started here, is Johnson & Johnson Vision. It's had a couple of different names throughout the years. But the big one was we make contact lenses, pretty much part of the med tech sector. And being part of that med tech sector is medical devices. And this is one of the ones that's grown. This sector has grown over the years that I've been here. And it's my role as the company's grown. I've grown with the company, starting out as a technician. Then I moved to different parts of the business and engineering. I also, became a supervisor. I was a supervisor, line supervisor for some time, for some years. And I worked on projects, got some project management experience. Then also, eventually came to become a manufacturing manager, overseeing pretty much one of the largest and most complex organizations within Johnson & Johnson, in that, I'm responsible for the production of over, 7, 8 different brands, products within the Vision portfolio, and several, over 20 manufacturing lines, and several hundred pretty much people in my organization. I manage budgets, multi-million-dollar budgets, and one of the biggest too as well for operating department within Johnson & Johnson. So all of that, I started to tap into the different people leadership skills, and they were all very similar in how, we interact with people, servant leadership, and a lot of people know, about that in the military. The VLC, as Deborah kind of alluded to earlier, pretty much that is pretty much where veterans connect to help other veterans and to help, people come into the company, veterans come into the company. And it's not just people that are former veterans that are part of that organization. There's people that just pretty much are military friendly or trying to help, they want to help, they have a desire and the passion, excuse me, to help, help veterans. That is what the VLC does. So one of the big things that I want to leave with you is that, there's a place for you, whether it's here at Johnson & Johnson or any other company. Your skills right now that you have, there's a place for you, and somebody needs those skills right now. And it's just pretty much up to you to decide kind of how you want to apply those and where you want to go with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. And I think Sean tells a really great story of navigating a longer career path and within the organization. And we see a lot of that at Johnson & Johnson. More than any company I've worked at, you'll meet people who've been here 20 years and they've had multiple careers. So great to hear that. Tammy, we want to hand it over to you. And by the way, folks, before I do that, after Tammy shares her story, we will talk about specific hiring paths and then we'll get to your questions. But Tammy, please.
Okay, thank you, Tiffany. Similar to Tiffany, my military experience started early. When I was 17, I was allowed to join the Ohio Army National Guard. My mom had to sign, and of course she did, for me to join. And so I spent a total of 6 years in the Ohio Army National Guard as a water purification specialist. During my time in the Ohio Army National Guard, I was also deployed during the first Gulf War. And then after the 6 years, I decided that it may be time just to try something different. So I went ahead and I did a 4-year stint in the Air Force Reserve, which I really enjoyed. And it kind of put me on the path to the career that I am in now, because I was an aeromedical technician. And shortly after leaving the Air Force Reserve, I decided I would go back to school and finish up my nursing degree. And that's how that started. And with the assistance of my Ohio Army National Guard, I had already completed some of my coursework because the National Guard at that time was paying 100% tuition if you were in the service. So that was really helpful to get me through a lot of my college. I have been here at J&J, or employed with J&J, for a total of 2 years, since October of 2019. I am the site lead for our Global Health Services, which is a very big title for our employee health department. I'm the site lead for our facility here in Cincinnati, which is Ethicon Endosurgery, and we are a R&D site for our medical devices division. I also am a site lead for our distribution center for our Janssen pharmaceutical products in Kentucky. I've been doing that, like I said, since 2019, and it's been quite a good stint so far here at J&J. Some of the bullet points that I have listed here below, I just wanted to highlight many of the skills that I learned and developed during my time in the military that I feel have been transferable here at J&J and throughout my nursing career. So being mission focused has definitely been an asset to me here at J&J, because it has helped me to roll out many of the programs to support our Healthiest Workplace initiatives that we have here. The attitude of maintaining a high level of competence, technical competence, along with the practice of extensive and continuous training has been useful in me obtaining my occupational health nurse certification and meeting my last licensures and continuing education credits. The leadership development that I received during my military service also prepared me to be a team leader in many of my areas of nursing, not just here at J&J, but when I was working in a hospital, I was a shift lead. I was associate unit manager. So it's really, that really helped me with that. Being adaptable and team focused has been a tremendous benefit as we have navigated through the many challenges that COVID has presented in the workplace. And lastly, being exposed to a diverse and inclusive military community has also prepared me for the global community that makes up J&J. So kind of like Sean said, that here at J&J and anywhere that you go, your military skills and your military service is translatable in many careers. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that. It's been quite helpful to me. I will never forget or be very grateful for the time that I spent in the military and all the skills that I developed and learned there.
Tammy, I love this. And, one of the things I want to point out is, there's a couple of things here. One is, I always say you meet one veteran, you meet one veteran. We're not here to say that everyone is the same that came out of the military, but we do have some common experiences and values and leadership traits that we were instilled with. But you'll also hear that across J&J. And my goal in that, by the way, is that you recognize some piece of yourself in one of these stories, right? And I know I recognize some piece of myself in these stories as well. But even the existence, Tammy, of your job, I think really speaks to our credo, right? That you are in a role that is about keeping a healthy workforce. So, we're all grateful for what you do and excited about that, right?
Yes, definitely. My role here is extensive. So it's not just employee health. We also we are the overseers of our EAP, which is our employee assistance program. We also have on-site wellness folks, on-site gym, on-site physical therapy. We oversee all of that. So it's a whole wheel of things that we are in charge of and that we have to oversee. So yes.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tammy. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
We definitely are a company that cares about the health of our workforce and makes that tangible and visible. All right, so I'm going to jump through really quickly, spend just the next few minutes running through a bunch of slides. So please don't worry about this being information overload. We are going to keep a recording of this. I've also posted in the chat that you can always visit you can always visit careers.jnj.com and careers.jnj.com/veterans to learn more about these programs and find out how to connect with us after this. We want to lay some foundation for your questions, so please continue to plug those questions into the chat as you hear about these programs, and we will address as many of them as we can here and give you information on how to follow up. So we have 4 specific military connected pipelines today. We're always every year evaluating what those are and evolving them. But we're really proud of 4 existing pathways. And the goal today is maybe you're going to recognize yourself as being a potential fit for one of these pathways. But the other thing to tell you is that these are specialized access points where we've decided, one, that veterans or members of the military community could be a really good fit, but also 2, that we needed to create a specific pathway to help them carve their way in. That is not to say that there aren't a lot of other jobs across Johnson & Johnson outside of these paths. So we'll mention that, but I will say at any given time, if you go to our career site, we typically have about 4,000 jobs open across the US. So this is meant to give you a snapshot of these 4 paths, but they are not the only way into our organization. So I want to start with, the start is for those still serving. We do have a SkillBridge program. And yes, we work with other providers like Hiring Our Heroes for SkillBridge internships, but we in 2021 launched our own program and signed an MOU with the Department of Defense in order to host SkillBridge interns. And we're really excited about that program and really creating bespoke, unique experiences to meet service members where you are and where your skills best translate to our organization. I posted on the screen that our SkillBridge program, it can vary in length depending on you as the service member what you're approved for, but typically those are between 3 and 6 months. More often than not, people get approved for about 90 days. We're aware of that. We offer SkillBridge internships at our core locations. And those are listed on the screen. They are across 9 states. I know we have some closed captioning going on, but they are across 9 states. If you want more information or you want that list sent to you on how to apply, there's an email address on the screen. That is the best way to get in touch with us, is to just shoot a quick email to that address. And you will receive the full instructions and details on how to apply to this program. That email address for those listening in is J like Juliet, N like November, J like Juliet, SkillBridge, which is SkillBridge at its.jnj.com. There's that Army Air Traffic Control coming back. I still know my alphabet, but that's J&J SkillBridge at its.jnj.com to learn more. The second program is our Janssen Veteran Sales Pathway, or we're actually can now call this our VSAP program, because we do have plans in 2021 to expand outside of just Janssen, which is our main pharmaceutical brand, to also bring this to our med tech medical device business as well. But this is a pathway for those who want to get into this highly specialized field of pharmaceutical or medical device sales, which, this is not cold calling. This is not what people think of traditionally as sales. You're not just walking in, cold to sell products. You are becoming the expert and the partner to the medical providers and understanding how these products work and how to best implement them. And it's an intensive training program. Historically, you had to have industry experience to get into this field, but we have found that veterans actually, many veterans thrive in these roles once they get in and get into the training program. So we are opening specific roles, and they're changing all the time, that are specifically for veterans as roles come up across the country to get into that sales field and to train up to be pharmaceutical sales experts or upcoming, again, med tech sales experts. You can find out what roles are open at any time by putting veteran pathway in as the keywords on our career site. The minimum requirements for this, though, it does require a bachelor's degree in any field, 2 years of military background, and otherwise it's a pretty open program to apply to. Again, the roles change though all the time, what they're posted for there. We also have 2 leadership development track programs, our MVLDP program, and then on the next slide, I'll show our EMVLDP program. MVLDP is for those mid-career transitioning out of the military, at least 4 years experience, ideally about 8 to 10 years in the military, mid-career folks. This is a pretty elite program for those that we think are the leaders of tomorrow for Johnson & Johnson. The application for this program, it's a rotational program, by the way. It is based in New Jersey. You do have to relocate to New Jersey so that you can rotate through more of our business, because that is where we're headquartered, through rotations over the course of 18 months. The EMVLDP program is when we recognize the need to differentiate for executive level leaders, those with 20+ years experience in military who are transitioning out or have recently transitioned as an O5 or E8 and above. And again, this program is slightly different. It is, but it is a rotational program, again, just tracked to higher level roles in the organization. For either program, to learn more, you can email the address on your screen, mvldp@its.jnj.com. The application will be opening in just a few weeks. By mid-February, I don't have an exact date yet, the formal application will be open. So make sure that you, shoot over your email, or you're checking our website over the next few weeks. That application will be opening for this year, a July start. Also, I think we have a January next year start that we'll be taking applications for as well. All right, these are the key words you can use to search our website to see the current openings for any of these programs. SkillBridge is one broad opening that you'll apply to. Again, email that inbox for more information on how that works, because we do a matching process on the back end. And you also can go to our career site and join our talent hub and learn more about our hiring process, more about our company. Definitely would encourage you to dive into that as you apply to roles. Also, for any company, as you apply to roles, keep track of what you apply to, keep track of those job descriptions, so that when you do get contacted, you have that context. But we also have a lot more context on our website as well. Just a good best practice there. All right, that is it. I think we are right on time with what we committed to in that 40 to 45 minutes. We are going to go ahead and at this point, I think, stop the recording and move into some open interaction here and hear your questions. And I and the team at Johnson & Johnson would love to field those.